Wolsey is going to join us. In fact, we'll get to Wolsey now. Welcome into you, Robert Walsh. Thanks for your time. It's getting pretty combative in here in terms of what we are allowed to do in the game. Welcome in, and are you as confused as some of us are, Wolsey?
G'day, Kane. G'day, Gerard. Look, I am confused, and I think Sicily was hard done by. I do. I think Mansell was hard done by. I thought Butler was lucky, so there you go. Butler got off, and the other two got suspended. So,
tell you what, Wolsey, was a lot clearer in the 70s and early 80s.
Well, look, today so much depends on the outcome of the player who gets hit. And if he gets concussed, well, there's a real chance that the player who made the contact or the tackle will be suspended. And I think that's pretty much the way that it is.
Mm. Are you surprised that the AFL's taken 8 months and counting to appoint a footy boss, Wolsey?
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of things don't surprise me what the AFL do, but that's certainly, I think, Gill. I don't know whether he wanted a legacy of getting Tasmania into the competition, but then I think he would have been happy to get out with the Hawthorn affair. But it's taken far too long, and Andrew Dillon should be steering the ship now.
We often get you on from time to time when the Blues are struggling. We probably should get you on when they're going well as well, but unfortunately that's been few and far between in the last 10 years, Wolsey. But you would have watched Sunday night, and it appeared as though they dominated the game, at least for the first half, but once again were so inefficient and inaccurate, and their skill level hurt them. I mean, did that performance surprise you at all, or are you used to it?
No, look, I thought their effort was really good. There was no doubt that they came out wanting to have a real crack, and I thought fantastic. As you said, the skill level is what hurt them. They had more scoring shots. They had more inside 50s. Coaches can only do so much. You've got players who are missing shots that they should kick, and in the end, it comes back to haunt you, and that's been the case at Carlton all year. The skill level has to improve. The speed of the team, that certainly has to improve, I would think. But people are pointing the finger at coaches. I had a look at the coaches at Carlton since David Parkin left. David Parkin coached in the year 2000. So we're, 23 years down the track. Mm. Parkin, sacked, or he'd had enough. Britton, sacked. Pagan, sacked. Ratton, sacked. Malthouse, sacked. Barker stood in for 14 games but didn't get the job. Bolton, sacked. Teague, sacked. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
When you think of what Richmond did with Damien Hardwick, 7 years, and a lot of people are saying he had 7 years and the results weren't that great. People said he's got to go. They persisted, and 3 premierships in the next 5 years. And we've seen it with Bomber Thompson at Geelong after his 6th or 7th year down there. Not a lot had happened. Get rid of him was the call. They stuck with him, and they ended up winning 2 premierships, and then there was the third one when Chris Scott came in. And even Chris Scott got a premiership in his first year, but then it took another 10 years to get, and there were a lot of unhappy Geelong supporters in the last decade that got the premiership last year. So all of those people calling out for Michael Voss to be sacked, shut up, because I was really pleased to hear Brian Cook come out to say he will coach his contract out, which is this year and next year. Well, obviously, next year is an important year for him. You need to see some good signs there, but these people who are abusing the coach, I just say lay off, because it's not just the coach at Carlton. When you've had 9 of them get sacked over the last, 20 years,
Yep.
You've got to look beyond that and say it's more than just the coach. The players have to take more responsibility. I just wonder how much the players demand of themselves and of each other.
It was an interesting game, Wolsey, as you rightly said. I mean, the expected score, if you just kicked on average, they win by 4 goals, and yet the pile on, the carry on afterwards was as if they were beaten by 10 goals and showed nothing. But I mean, sometimes you've got to have a close loss before you can battle on and get your win. Breaking the cycle of losses after such a succession, it's almost the hardest victory of them all.
Oh, well, you can imagine if you're a Carlton player, if you're a Carlton coach, everywhere you go, through the normal day-to-day things, your neighbours, your friends, the shops you go into, people would be at you left, right and centre. Now, that's part of the deal if you're not performing well. But, there's certainly a lot of pressure on the players at the moment. Look, they play Gold Coast this weekend, and that's going to be a tough challenge because I think Gold Coast is a much improved team. I think they're playing some really good football, so that's going to be hard for them. But again, if you go back to the Essendon match, I thought their effort and their output in the first half was as good as, if not better, than Essendon's. Essendon's 15-minute burst in the third quarter was just outstanding. In the last quarter, the ball sat in Carlton's forward line for most of the 30 minutes. So, in some ways it was a 15-minute lapse, but geez, Essendon were red hot. They were quite outstanding. And I think their captain has been wonderful all year, and good on him.
Are you pleased with the performance of Scott, given that you were part and parcel of appointing him?
Oh, I think he's been terrific, Gerard. Look, he's low-key. He's measured in everything that he does. He said from the start, this is a long-term project.
Yep.
And, look, the Essendon supporters, they've got every reason to feel excited, particularly with Peter Wright coming back in and, players like Parrish not playing at the moment. But he's giving young players opportunities, and they're standing up. And look, Essendon might make the finals, they may not, but I've got no doubt he'd be looking at them being a top 4 team over the next 5, 6, 7 years. Essendon need to have Brad Scott there for the next 7, 8 years, a long-term coach. And if they go the distance with him, I've got no doubt that at the end of that 7, 8 year period, there'll be a lot more wins than losses. And, with a bit of luck, maybe a grand final and a premiership.
It's amazing, Wolsey, you're talking in terms of horizons of 5, 6, 7 years, and yet the pressure on coaches at the present time is almost to turn, a sinking ship around in the space of 1 or 2 years, play finals, with a side of a premiership, within the short term, which is, history tells you, with a rare exception, is just nonsense.
Well, exactly. And I'd be interested in your thoughts, Kane, with Port Adelaide, like early last year, they wanted to get rid of Ken Hinkley, a lot of people, and certainly at the start of this season, it happened again. But it seems to me like the two players who've had a significant part in turning it round, Rosie and Butters, who are now just coming, their 4th or 5th year, so it takes some time.
Yeah, it was actually going to be my next question to you, Wolsey, about how you see Ken, because it's a little bit different to Vossi and Brad Scott that you mentioned in a short space of time that they've been there. This is 11 years, but if you're going to replace a coach, and a very good coach in Ken Hinkley, you want to make sure you're getting someone better. And I'm not sure there's anyone better available, and some might say, well, Damien Hardwick's available, he's better, but you've got to be in the right headspace to take the job. And whilst he is as invested as what he is and his players are responding to him so well, I think it would be a big risk for Port Adelaide to go in a different direction.
Oh, I agree. Now, this is a question for you guys, and you may not know the answer, but am I right in saying that are there premiership coaches who've gone to other clubs and won premierships? I'm not sure that there's that many that have done that.
We spoke about this about 2 weeks ago, Wolsey, and I think we came up with 5. One was Mick Moldhouse. Barras obviously did it with North Melbourne and Carlton. David Parkin did it. There was 1 or 2 others whose names have eluded me. Lee Matthews, obviously.
Brendan Gale spoke about this on Footy Classified after Damien Hardwick left, and he just said that exact thing. Let's find the next Damien Hardwick or the next one. So we'll wait and see, Gerard.
One final one, Wolsey. If you had an opportunity to chat to Vossi, you've been there, you've been under the pump, you've also been at the top of the tree. What would your advice be to him at this time where he's under enormous stress?
I think that it's very basic. You go back to one thing, and why are you there? You are there as senior coach to coach the players. So put all of your efforts, your concentration, your time into your players, and don't be worried about reading papers, listening to radio, watching TV. You're there for the players, and if they see that you lose your focus, well, I think you're in big trouble then.
And one other one has just come to mind. You've got an association through your son David with the Freo Dockers. He's put together an amazing list over there. What's your thoughts on where they're at the present time?
Well, again, Gerard, most weeks the Dockers field the second youngest team. Hawthorn put out the youngest team each week, but most weeks the Dockers are the second youngest team. So I think the Dockers will be in the top half of the ladder for the next 5 or 6 years. And if they can, again, have a few breaks go their way, I think there's every chance that they could be in grand finals and win a flag in the next 7-8 years, because they're so young. I think they've got a really good coach, and I think the future's pretty bright for them. So, yeah, look, I watched them pretty closely, and I think their backline's strong. There's a young fella who's coming to the team at full forward, Jai Amos. He's only 19. In 3 years' time, he'll be a star. He's just courageous. He's got good hands. He's an accurate kick. But the other young fella in the forward line, Tracy, he's a big bull, but he's only 20. He'll take a while. And then you've got Jackson, who's 21. So they're three big forwards at 19, 20, 21. I think their ruckman's one of the best in the competition in Darcy. And you've got Brayshaw and Sarong. And Sonny Walters is still, kicking goals. So I think they've got a good future.
Wolsey, you made a lot of sense as always. We appreciate your time on Sports Day again.